What's up, guys? Julian here. I'm still a little bit sick. You can hear my voice. Anyway, as you can tell probably from the title of this isn't another Fubsy Daily. I'm not going to be talking about Magic the Gathering today. Today I wanted to talk more about me and more about who I am and how I got to where I am today. I know I've talked about my gaming history and kind of how I played video games and how I kind of transitioned into Magic. Today I want to be a little bit more personal. It all started because I'll put the link on the screen. I hope I remember. I always say that and then I forget, but I hope I remember this time. A couple of weeks ago, I was I was actually able to go to be interviewed. Sorry, someone messaged me on Facebook, but I was actually able to be interviewed for a book called Breakfast with Strangers, which is it's a really interesting idea where this couple did a Kickstarter to get some cash and no, I guess not just get some cash, right, but to get funding to be able to go around across the country and sorry, I'm gonna close Facebook. People are just sorry, guys. As you can tell, this is unplanned. I'm unscripted. I don't have any notes today. I'm just talking. Okay, so Breakfast with Strangers. This couple did a Kickstarter to get funding, and they started in like Oregon or Washington, which is where they're from. Portland, Oregon, I think they're from. And they're just traveling out to the 50 states, and they're going all the way across the United States and having breakfast with somebody in every state. And like they did the lieutenant governor of Wyoming, and they did some roller skating rock star old guy from Idaho, and just people, right? They're just getting to know these different people, interesting people. And I actually it was cool enough. I was lucky enough to be chosen, I guess, to be the interviewee for Utah. And and the reason is because I feel like I have a pretty interesting story. They posted on Reddit and asked, hey, is anybody maybe interested in getting interviewed? Send us your story and we'll go through them and we'll find somebody who we think would be a great fit for the book. And my story, to kind of in a concise way, is that I'm a very strong Mormon, turned atheist, turned 100% atheist. And I think it's pretty interesting how I got there. And a lot of people have asked questions. Friends and family have asked a lot of questions about that. And I try and explain. I try and talk to them about it. But I figure I just want to get this out there and let everybody know how I feel. So please visit the website. They deserve your support. The Breakfast with Strangers people. They're living literally in the back of their van when they're not sleeping with with a family, in someone's house. They showed me. It's literally, they remodeled the back of their van so that you open up the back two doors and there's a bed. Like a mattress and a bed is there, and I say remodeled because it actually looks like a bed. Like there's like a wooden platform below it, and then the mattress is resting right on top of it, and it looks more legitimate than they just shoved a mattress in there. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe they put a picture up or something. But yeah, they're really doing this. They're taking a long time out of their lives to do this. So I thought that was really cool. But anyway, I just figured I'd take you through my ride of this transition. And to my friends and family who are watching this, I hope you continue to watch. And I know this is long, and I hope you can find time to be able to sit down and watch this and really understand where I'm coming from. Because I've lost friends and I've lost family members. People who don't want to talk to me anymore because of this. And I think maybe there's misunderstandings. Maybe there's not, but I think there are. So I got my drinks, and we're just going to go through this, I guess. So I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. Right here, Salt Lake City, Utah, Mormonville. I was born and raised into a Mormon family. A strong, a very active Mormon family. We went to church. I went to church every Sunday, unless I was sick, right, or we were out of town. But I mean, it wasn't we'd go once a month or we'd go twice a year. Every Sunday we were going to church. I did that until I was 16, and then when I was 16, rebellious teenager a little bit, so I'd miss once a month, right? I'd sleep in, or I just didn't want to go. But in a general sense, I went every week, I would say. In my whole growing up, right, all the way through high school and to college, I was going every week to church, and it's interesting when you do that, when your whole culture, and it's not like that was a weird thing here. That's a very normal thing here. Now, Salt Lake isn't as Mormon as people think. People think it's 95% Mormon people, and it's not. It's not. Salt Lake City itself is probably 40% Mormon, I think I heard. I could be wrong on these statistics, but it's somewhere around 40% in Salt Lake. And then once you get out of Salt Lake, it starts to get a little bit bigger. But even in the bottom of Utah, St. George area, or north, in Logan, really you're only hitting 60-70% only, right? That's still a lot. But it's not 95%. It's not people push that number way too high. There are not that many Mormon people here compared to the rest. There are a lot, and it is ingrained into the culture. I don't want to downplay it either and say it's not common, because it is. It's very common. In your high school classroom of 30 kids, 20 of them, so maybe 60%, yeah, 20 of them are Mormon. Maybe 18 of them are Mormon. Sometimes more. It depends. In the city where I live, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, I hope that gives my. So it fluctuates from like 40 to 70%, depending on what city you're in. But it's a lot. And you guys know, I don't know if people know this outside of Utah, but Salt Lake was founded by the Mormon pioneers. They left Nauvoo and trucked across the west and settled in Salt Lake City. Some pushed on to California. And so it was just, it was founded by the Mormon church. And anyway, I don't want to talk about Utah's history, but I just figure being from Utah, obviously I know this. We have like a holiday and everything. But if you're from like New York, probably you didn't know that. You just knew that people trekked across the west and settled all the cities. But Salt Lake was like a Mormon foundation colony thing. Okay, so anyway, so I'm born and raised here, right? And there's some interesting things when you're raised in this kind of a culture where it's ingrained into you, like from birth. Literally from birth, where it's like, these things are just bad. Coffee, tea are no way, you don't drink them. Abstinence, until you're married. And even littler things like you can't date until you're 16 in the Mormon Church. Well, you shouldn't. They recommend that you don't. And my family was a family that said don't. I didn't go on a date until I was 16. They don't want you going on single dates until you're like out of high school, and that means like just one-on-one. They don't want you pairing off until you're out of high school. They want group dates and stuff. It's very old-fashioned, I would say. But it was totally normal. It was totally normal growing up. I said this in my interview, but I thought it was really interesting. Because Mormons, we don't drink coffee. I should say they, but we don't drink coffee. I actually put coffee in the same place as alcohol in my mind. My mind put those, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, coffee, tea, all in the same place. So, I thought it was all just really bad for you, and only adults can have it, and you have to show ID, or you can't have it at all, that kind of stuff. So, I remember going to high school, and, some just a normal kid, just a girl, she just walks into class, and she got her Starbucks, which is totally normal everywhere else, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, she brought coffee to high school. Are you kidding me? Could she get, expelled for that? I thought it was this really big deal, right? Obviously, I'm just an idiot, right? I quickly figured out, coffee is like a normal thing. It's like hot chocolate for everybody else, basically. It's just a normal thing people drink. It's fine. Really funny. But yeah, I thought it was illegal, or that you had to show ID to get it. I never had coffee in my whole life. Really funny. I didn't really see it. And it's also interesting because people that are not part of the church, or people who are inactive. Inactive means it means what it sounds like it is. Your name is in the church, you're registered. They can print a list of the Mormons in the area, and you're there or whatever, but you don't go, or you don't go very often at all, once every 3 months kind of a person, or less. Anyway, so someone who's inactive like that, or who's not a member of the church, very quickly gets kind of excluded a little bit from groups, or they find their own groups. But in high school, most of your group of friends, and in high school you start to spread out a little bit, but in elementary school and in junior high, your group of friends are the people that live around you, that go to your church with you. Because you go to the same school, and churches, in the Mormon church, there are so many chapels that it's districted. It's kind of like schools, where if you live in this area of this neighborhood, you go to this chapel and at this time. And if you live in this area, you go to this chapel at this time. This area, this chapel, this time. They each have their own leaders, just like a school principal and stuff like that. It's districted off like that. Now, as you get outside of Utah, they're very big, right? I lived in Tucson for a little while, and it's half the city went to the same chapel, right? But in Utah, it's no, these 4 streets or something, just these 4 streets and this street in this neighborhood go to this church, and because there's so many. So your closest group of friends were those who went to church with you on Sunday, who went to school with you during the week, and then in church they have out of church activities called Mutual, or the young men's programs. I know a lot of churches have this kind of stuff. It's like Scouts, it kind of integrated into that. So you'd see those people. You'd go once a week to that, on Tuesday or Wednesday, and a lot of times on Friday, Saturday, you'd play basketball, or you'd go do a service thing, and so you were just with these people a lot, right? And they became your close group of friends. Anybody who could be in that group, they lived in your neighborhood or something, but they didn't go to church, or they didn't go to these things, they were kind of excluded. It became kind of awkward. And it was tough because I don't know how much. I mean, it's my fault, obviously, because I was the person kind of excluding. But it's just I don't even know what to say because, like, with these people that are in your church with you, you're going to get milkshakes twice a week with them, and you're playing ball every week with them, and you're going to, like I said, service activities. You're cleaning up schools, and then you're going to church, and then you're seeing them at school. You're with them a lot, and so it's easy to get these groups of friends, and this culture just kind of envelops you. And at the same time, people who aren't members of the church, if you live in Utah, wherever you're surrounded by people who are, it's very easy for you to get stereotypes against people that are unfair and that you shouldn't have. For a long time, I'm actually really sad to say this, even until maybe 2 years ago. Whenever I saw someone smoking, and man, I hate this. I hate that I felt like this. I would almost automatically kind of judge them. It wasn't even like a coherent thought. It wasn't like I looked at them and said, I don't like you anymore because you're a smoker. It wasn't that, right? But I would see them smoking, or I would see them drinking alcohol, or coffee, even to a degree, and I'd be like, oh, they're probably a bad person, right? Like, I would think that. I would think, oh, they're probably a bad person. They probably aren't very good. They probably do all these other bad things. They probably sleep around. They probably cheat on their wife, and they probably, kill people, or not kill people. You know what I'm saying, though, right? Like, because they weren't following this little rule in the church, even though they're not a member of the church, just that they were doing this, that I was raised my whole life that was so bad, like you were basically going to hell if you did that. I just had these misconceptions. I would see someone smoking, and I'd think, they're a bad person. And that's awful. That is the worst. That is the worst. I mean, I can't even. I'm going to go talk about this more later, but like Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, but mainly Christopher Hitchens, no, they both. They talk about indoctrinating little children, right? And like calling people, little kids, Mormons, or you're a Catholic boy or you're a Christian boy from the time they're born, and indoctrinating them. And that was it. That was indoctrination, like to a small degree, not a huge degree. I mean, it wasn't like I was killing people because of their race. I mean, it was. I was just looking at them and going, I should find someone else, which I'm embarrassed to say it. I am. I'm embarrassed to say that I used to be that. I used to think like that. Man, and I know there are a lot of people in Utah who think like that, who feel like that. And then once again, it's not that they're coherently doing it. They've just been raised like that. And I just, the freedom, man, I'm getting ahead of myself. But now I don't think like that. And it is liberating. I can just tell you that. It's cool. It's amazing not to feel like that with everybody I see. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so, super Mormon, right? So then Mormons, so Mormon men are basically required, and Mormon women it's recommended, that they serve a 2-year service mission for the church, right? And what this is, for Mormon boys, you are eligible to go when you turn, at the earliest, 19 years old. And at the latest, 26 or 27. And for Mormon women, it's 21 to 28. Or maybe 29. I don't know the upper limits because everybody basically goes at the youngest limit they can go. And what you do is you submit these papers, you fill out these papers saying, and you have to do all these like physicals and doctor's reports. I had to lose weight. I had to lose like 40 pounds, which is back, but I had to lose 40 pounds. You do all these different things and you can submit your papers in to what the Mormon people consider a prophet and apostles. Kind of like Jesus and his 12 apostles. They don't think the prophet is Jesus, right? I mean, they know that Jesus is different. But they think they have this prophet, like Moses or like Abraham, and then his 12 apostles like Jesus had, right? Anyway, so you send your papers in there with like your picture and all that kind of stuff. And then they're supposed to pray and get inspiration, and then they assign you to a place in the world, to a location in the world. Some people think we pick where we go. We don't. Not at all. There is a place on the form at the bottom that says, do you have anywhere you do or don't want to go? But it's kind of like, most people think of it as kind of a joke. Because like wherever you put you don't want to go, you'll probably go there. And if you put you do want to go somewhere, then you won't go there. It's just kind of this funny joke that they have. But a lot of Mormon missionaries go Spanish-speaking, like to South America and Central America. But they go all over the world, basically. There's some places you can't go. You can't go into the middle of China. You can go into Hong Kong, Beijing, but you can't go into the middle of China. Can't go to the Middle East. Some very rural parts of Africa, you probably couldn't go. But for the most part, like the whole world is kind of open. And they send them, right? So I got my mission call. I served a mission when I was 19. And see, the Mormon Church, it's not required to the degree of, let's say, going to church or like paying the tithing, or something like that. It's not a commandment where if you don't go, then you can't go to heaven. It's not like that. But it might as well be, right? it's such a part of your culture. Remember that group of friends I was just talking about, right? Your whole group of friends you've been growing up with, especially if you stay in the same house, right? If you move around a lot, you get new groups of friends. But if you stay in the same place and have the same group of friends, you're all going to go on your missions at the same time too, because they do by age limits, right? So your friends are your age, and then you all turn 19 and start shooting off on these missions. And 2 years, come back home, get married. It's just kind of part of the culture. It's just what you do. A lot of Mormon girls will only date or marry return missionaries. They call them RMs, which is someone who went a 2-year mission and came home. And served it honorably and whatever and came home. It's just part of the culture. You just kind of have to go. And it's interesting because like my parents are more liberal than other Mormon parents, but not by a lot. But they're a little bit more liberal. And so of course they said the same thing most Mormon parents say, which is it's your choice. You can go if you want to. We're not gonna stop loving you if you don't go. But at the same time, you kind of have to go, right? I mean, you just do. Everybody goes on one of these. And if you don't, you're kind of considered like a weirdo. It's very strange. You can ask anyone. If you know a Mormon person who goes to church, even somewhat regularly, who didn't go on their mission, ask them what it was like during those 2 years when they could have been on their mission. And they will tell you it is awkward as hell. Like you go to church, and then you're just like, oh, everyone's always like, when are you going on your mission? When are you going on your mission? Why didn't you go on your mission? How can we get you to go on that mission? They're just in your face for 2 years. It's just crazy. Anyway, so I went. I submitted my papers. I got the call, and I served in Boise, Idaho. I went from Salt Lake City to Boise, Idaho. At the time, I was in Tucson, but Salt Lake City to Boise, Idaho. You don't pick that, right? My cousin went to Argentina. Another cousin, Brazil. I had a friend go to Korea. And you can go anywhere. And I got Boise, Idaho, which was a little bit disappointing. Because part of it's not that it's a vacation, but it's exciting to go to a whole nother country, a whole nother culture. So it was like, Boise, that's awesome. But I got to learn Spanish. I went there Spanish speaking, which is cool. So I learned Spanish. A lot of missionaries go and learn another language while they're out there. And you'd be amazed. Take 2 years. They go for 2 years, and they're fully integrated into that culture, and they come back fluent as you can believe. Usually they come back. And like on the phone or something, you would think that they're from that country. Very impressive. So I got to go learn Spanish, right? So I go on this 2-year mission, and here's how it goes. So every missionary, no matter what, they go to what's called the MTC, which is the Missionary Training Center in Provo, Utah. And you go there, and if you're learning a language, you're there for about 8 weeks. And if you're not learning a language, you're there for about 3 weeks. And this is like the most intense college dorm room type situation you've ever been in, right? It's like a school. So basically you go there for 8 weeks first, right? You start there 8 weeks for me. And you're assigned what they call a missionary companion. Now on a mission, you give up a lot of things when you go on this mission. You don't get a cell phone. You don't get the internet. You don't get an iPad or an iPod. You can't bring anything like that with you. You don't wear normal clothes. You wear a shirt and tie every day. Unless you're going to work out, like to go jogging in the morning, or giving service. Like if you're going to go help someone do a garden, you could wear jeans and like a shirt. But only for that time. Then you shower and you put your suit back on and you go back out. That's it. I mean, you were wearing that shirt and tie every single day. Also, with your missionary companion, you are never alone. You cannot be alone unless you're in the restroom or you're in an interview with like your mission president or something. Other than that, literally, you cannot be alone. And if if you go to the restroom, your companion, your missionary companion, should be like outside the door, basically. Like it can't be like if you're in a home, you can't be like sitting on the couch and your missionary and your companion went upstairs to go to the restroom. No, they want you up at that door. Like it's wild. You're never alone. No TV, no movies. You can't talk to your friends. None of that. It's just 2 years. You just cut off. And what you do is once a week, you get a couple of hours to do your laundry, to go shopping, to get your food. And then in that time, you can write letters to your friends and family. You can email your friends and family as well. And that's it. That's all you. That's the only communication you get with the outside world. You're not browsing the web. You're not surfing anything. You're not nothing. And it's 2 years. 2 years of just knocking on doors and talking about God and Jesus and the Book of Mormon and Bible and teaching people for 2 years. I mean, that's what you're doing, and you're giving service. So for those 8 weeks in the missionary training center, you wake up at 6:30. Oh, also on a mission, you wake up at 6:30 or 6 every day. Never don't wake up at 6:30. Never. Not one day in 2 years did I wake up after 6:30. Christmas, 6:30. New Year's, 6:30. It's always 6:30. And Yeah, and on the phone, you only get to talk to your family twice a year, which is Christmas and Mother's Day. So on Christmas and on Mother's Day, you each get about an hour to talk to your family on the phone. They give you like you have a mission cell phone, and you use that cell phone only for contacting people in the mission, like other missionaries or like a like family you're trying to teach or something like that. So you use that and you or whatever, and you call and you talk about an hour, and then you're done. You go back out and keep working. It's intense. So in this missionary training center, yeah, you wake up at 6:30 and you go to bed at 10:30, and other than that, it is like you wake up, so you go to class for like 2 hours, then you have breakfast, then class for like 4 hours, then lunch, then class for 4 hours, dinner, class for 2 hours, bed. Like it is just nuts. And they just grind language into you and grind the teaching, the teach whatever you're going to teach. And I mean, it is intense. So anyway, I'm talking too much about this. So I went on this 2-year mission. It was tough. It was without a doubt the hardest thing I've ever done. But I learned a lot about myself. Being with another person 24 hours a day is it can be brutal sometimes because you get on each other's nerves. You spend the morning studying, and if you don't agree with the way that you're going about doing something, I mean, you are with them literally 24 hours a day. You're never alone. And if you get a missionary companion that you get along with, then it is fantastic. You have the time of your life. If you get with someone that and what happens is, with this companion thing, it switches like every 2 or 3 months. You swap. And like you have this guy that's a mission president, he's kind of in charge of everything, and he just does it. Like every 2 or 3 months, you have I can't remember the word for them. Transfers, I guess they're called transfers. Where he just calls you and he's like, all right, elder you. They call you elders, elder, and then your last name, Ontiveros. Elder you, you're going to be with elder this guy now, and elder you, you're going to be with this guy now. And every couple months you switch it up. So sometimes you get awesome companions, and sometimes you get the worst. And I had some companions that it was brutal. It was tough, really, really hard. And I had others that were incredible, that changed my life. And I learned a lot about my church then. I mean, I learned a ton about the Bible. I learned a ton. I'm one of the few Christian people, I would say, who can say they've read the Bible cover to cover. And I've read it like 2 or 3 times, as well as the Book of Mormon. You just get really ingrained into that, and you really learn a lot about your church. So anyway, so I did that, and then I came home. And the next step in Mormon culture is to find a Mormon girl and marry her and start making babies. So I actually met, while I was on my mission, a Mormon missionary girl. Now on your mission, you don't date, you don't even court, you don't do anything like that, right? So I just met her, and then she went home like a month before me. So she went home and she wrote me a letter, and she said, hey, when you get home, call me, And I was like, all right. Then I went home and called her, and we ended up dating for about 2 years. And it was a good relationship. It was a lot of fun. And I thought about marriage, but I just couldn't quite get, I don't know, I just couldn't get behind it. And I mean, people were talking to me about it. Hey, when you get married, you're 22 now, you should be looking to get married. I mean, it's crazy. They get married so early there. It is not rare for a Mormon missionary to come home at 21 years old and 6 months later marry like an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old girl, which is only 2 years difference, right? So you freakos, don't worry about it. It's only 2 years. But it's not, I mean, a girl to graduate high school and marry within 6 months to a missionary who just got home, that is not weird. That is like normal. So it was like, so I went like a year without getting married. I went like 2 years without getting married. It was weird for some people. Other people it's fine. But so yeah. And this whole time I'm going to church, and I'm trying to, sometimes I didn't. Anyway, my parents are going to watch this. They're going to be like, he didn't go every Sunday. And you're right, I didn't go every Sunday. I was a little bit lazy. But yeah, so I was, but living the LDS life, living the Mormon life. So things started to change a little bit. Let's see, what was like a big defining moment? One of them was, like, I took a class on biology, and I learned about evolution. Now, up until this point, just so you guys are aware, the Mormon Church doesn't believe in evolution. Now, I'm going to talk about this whole doesn't believe thing in a minute, right? So those of you who are like really strong atheists who understand science better, you know that phrase doesn't make a lot of sense. But to like the rest of the world, that's like a common thing to say. I don't believe in evolution, right? So I'll talk about that more in a minute. But the LDS Church chooses not to believe in evolution. They are young Earth creationists. So they believe the Earth is 6,000 years old. It might have been formed for longer than that. And there's some Mormon people who will say, oh, but God took 4 million years creating it. And others who say no, blah, blah, blah. But they believe 6,000 years ago, Adam and Eve were on the Earth. and then Noah, and then Moses, and then King David, and then Jesus, and now us. I mean, that's what the LDS Church believes. Um, and I took a class, a biology class in college. So I'm studying computer engineering, but you have to take the biology 1010 or whatever and chemistry 1010. And I started learning about evolution, and I was like, wow, this is not like they're not kidding around about this. It is weird. Until that time, I don't know. I can't explain to you what I understood about things like evolution and the age of the Earth. Because when I would go to, like in high school, right, and then junior high and then elementary school, I would go to school and I would learn about the dinosaurs, right? Or I learned that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Or I learned about evolution. And I'm like, okay, yeah, absolutely. That's fine. I believe that. That's fine. I agree. And then I go to church and they would say 6,000 years old, Adam and Eve, God created the heavens. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, great. Yep, I believe that. That's fine. I just believe them both. I never really questioned it, which is dumb. Obviously, that's really stupid, right? But I never questioned it. I never thought about it. I just kind of, okay, I'm at school, the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. I'm at church, it's 6,000 years old. Problem solved, right? Which it's not. That's how I felt. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, and I'll talk about it more, but if you want me to, you can ask me questions. I did go through the Mormon temple. I've been all the way through the whole thing. And it's pretty wild. It's very surprising. It's pretty cultish. There's videos on YouTube you can find where you see the ceremony. It is weird. And the first time you go through, you're like, this is bizarre. This is not like the rest of church. Because if you go to a Mormon church, it's actually pretty progressive. I mean, they don't do a lot of weird things. They do the sacrament thing, the bread and the water thing. That's kind of weird. But other than that, like, it's pretty normal. Then there's no weird costumes. There's people just wearing suits and ties, and women are wearing dresses and skirts, and that's it, and even like the prophet, like the leader of the church, he just wears a suit, like a suit and tie. He doesn't wear anything bizarre. Then you go to the temple, and you're like, what is going on here? Like it's just a 180. It's just weird. I posted a video up on my Facebook about it, and my mom told me to take it down. And she pulled the mom card, which she never pulled before. She did the whole "I'm your mother, and you're taking this down," and I'm like, what? I don't live with you anymore. I mean, I'm not 12, right? Like, I'm gonna have to take it down. She pulled the mom card and started crying and I need you to do this for me. I never asked you for anything. It was weird. I ended up taking it down. It's not worth fighting with my mom for 10 years about this. Anyway, you can find it. And if you message me about it, I'll talk about it more. I'm totally open to it. I just don't want to make my mom mad, which is funny. I feel like I'm 10 again, living in my mom's house. Okay, so I'm learning about evolution, learning about the Earth's age, and I'm learning that these things are not jokes. That these aren't theories like you think they are. And so I started doing more investigation into it. And until that time, even on a mission, they taught you that when someone asks you about something like evolution, you should just skip it and move on. That you don't have a great answer to that. It's one of those trusting God. We don't understand God's plan type of thing. And so, so you should just move on. You should just testify or talk about things that you do know, whatever. So this is the first time I'd ever really been challenged about this. And so I started looking into it more. And that's about when I discovered Reddit. About a year and a half ago, I discovered Reddit. Maybe 2 years ago now. I don't know. And there's a subreddit called Atheism, right? And I started watching these debates between atheists or scientists and scientists and atheists against religious people. Now, I understand that Mormons are not the same as Catholics. They're not the same as Presbyterians or Lutherans. But the Christians all share a lot of similar beliefs. Some differences. Mormons, more differences than others, because Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon and all that. But still, the core is still like Jesus died, he came back from the dead, the Bible is true, that kind of stuff. And so I started watching these debates. And the one debate that got me, right, one of the first ones I watched was between Richard Dawkins and this creationist woman, where the creationist woman challenged him to show her evidence of evolution. And that was what I had cited before. I had said the stupid argument of, by the way, if you think this, I don't want to insult you by saying it's stupid because I thought it, but it's dumb, right? One of the big arguments creationists give is, well, if we all come from monkeys, then why are monkeys still around? right? Like they just win or something. And obviously that's not true. We don't come from those monkeys, right? Like there's like an ancestor up here. There's like a monkey up here, and then it like branches, right? And we're over here, and like today chimpanzees are here. We came from the same thing. And like if you go up a little bit, and then that's where the gorillas come from, or the I can't remember the name of it, but there's another one. Chimpanzees. This other thing. Oh, what's the name of that stupid? It looks just like a chimpanzee, but it's smaller. And then like gorillas and then orangutans, right? Like, and we start branching off, but like it's not like we came from chimpanzees like this, right? It's more like there's this common ancestor, and us and chimpanzees both came from it. So that's how evolution works, right? Not like a straight line. It's like a branch. Anyway, so she challenges Richard Dawkins, say, well, show me the evidence, show me the transformation. And Richard Dawkins says, there's a museum. I'm paraphrasing, right? But he basically says, there's a museum about 4 blocks from here. Let's go look at it. Right? Like, it was there. He's like, yeah, it's over there. Do you want to go see? Like, I mean, and he was saying it to the point of as if someone was saying, I don't believe doors exist. And you're like, there's a door. I'll slam it in your face. It's right there. Like, you can't believe it's not there. It's right there. That's basically what he was saying. And I started to learn more about evolution and go, oh, man, like, evolution is the real thing. It's a fact, right? I mean, now scientists might disagree about exactly how it works. You know, and the most prevalent theory is the theory of natural selection, which is from Darwin, right? Kind of like the strongest species survives, or species will adapt, or die off. That's the most common theory, from what I understand. I'm not an evolutionary expert, right? But that's from what I understand. That's the most common theory of evolution, but evolution itself changing from one form to another, and us progressing from this common ancestor of a monkey to us, that is as true as gravity, right? So that's why I said before, when the Mormon Church says they don't believe in evolution, you can't like choose not to believe it. You could, but it'd be kind of like choosing not to believe in gravity, or something similar like that. Choosing not to believe in light or something like. Like, evolution is that real. The only difference is it's not as easy to see. That's the only reason you don't believe in it. That's the only reason you think you choose not to believe in it. Because gravity, you jump, you come back down. Right? Like, you just do that. With evolution, you actually have to go look at it first. You gotta go find it. But once you see it, once you're like, oh, that's evolution, then you're like, okay, well, you know, that's real. Like, there it is. I see this skeleton to this skeleton to this skeleton to this skeleton. Oh, okay. Well, there it is. It's just as obvious. I mean, it's right there. So I learned that, and I was like, oh, brother, like, whoa, well, if evolution is real, what else, you know? So I started looking into gay marriage. Now, this is a funny topic, especially for LDS people. I've talked to a couple of friends about this, about my feelings on gay marriage, and how obviously I think homosexuals should be able to marry each other just like straight people. I almost said normal people. That's that indoctrination, right? Like, homosexuals are like these freaks or something. They're not, man. They're totally chill. Normal people. I have a bunch of homosexual friends. They're awesome. I think they should get married. Just fine. Who cares? Who even cares? There's a comedian. I think Lewis Black, maybe someone else, who just kind of freaks out, and he's like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't. What do we care if they get married or not? Like, there are so many big issues. Like, who says it? He said basically, like, gay marriage should be like on page 37 of our list of issues that we have to deal with in the country, right? Gay marriage shouldn't even be a debate. Who cares? And I'll debate that with you all day long, because that's ridiculous that you don't think they should get married. How dumb. And people say the sanctity of marriage, or, you know, but the biblical marriage was polygamy, right? And that's gone. So, like, what? Marriage, one man, one woman? Why do you even what? Shut up. And then people say, oh, because they can't have babies. So that means, like, infertile women can't get married because they can't have babies? Like, no, obviously not. Or they say, like, you know, children need a man and a woman, otherwise they get raised weird. Well, I have a lot of friends who were, like, raised by single mothers, and they are great. They are fine. They don't need, I mean, father figures are obviously, like, good. I mean, like, it's not like they're bad. A good father figure. But it's not like if you don't have one, you're going to grow up to be a homicidal maniac. You're fine, right? I know tons of people who get raised like that, and they're great people. They're wonderful people. Anyway, I could go off on that forever. But so that was my next issue. And I was debating this with someone. I was talking to one of my old mission companions about this. And he said, well, do you care about this, Julian? Do you care about it because you're gay? And I was like, no. Why do you even... What? Like, I have to be gay to care? That's kind of like saying you should only defend black rights if you're black, right? Like, which is the stupidest thing I've, I mean, disappointing. So then I got that, and I was like, oh, evolution, gay marriage, what else? So I started watching more of these debates. I started looking into it more and more and more. This was a process of about 6 months. Just about, I would say from like February or so of 2011 to August, where I was really like just learning and learning. And the whole time I was going to church and I was trying to do my thing. And I was still Mormon and I wasn't drinking coffee or beer. I mean, I never had beer in my whole life, never had coffee. And, telling people I'm Mormon. I mean, I was Mormon the whole time. But I started learning more and more, and I started going, geez, like, I learned there is no, hang on one second, guys. I gotta just pull my book. So I learned, sorry about that there's no evidence for, like, anything that happens in the Bible, anything at all. Now, a lot of Christians will say, okay, Noah's flood wiped out everything from before. Fine. Even though there's no evidence for Noah's flood, fine. Whatever. There's no evidence because of some flood that didn't happen. Right? Okay, flood. But, like, Moses? No evidence for Moses. Children of Israel, the Bible says what, 1 million people left Egypt? No evidence. There's no evidence that there were any Jews in Egypt, ever. They were like slaves of the Egyptians. That never, anything like that. Some huge uprising took all the people out? No, never happened. 1 million people, or if you go by other biblical evidence, only 300,000, only 300,000 people living in the desert for 40 years. No impact anywhere. We can't find anything. Nothing, right? Okay, great. What about David, and King David taking over Israel? No, probably never a King David. There's no evidence for that. What about the whole, sacking of Babylon, and what about the building of Jerusalem by King David? And then they got sacked, and then they take it back, No, none of that. There's no evidence for that either. Okay, what about Jesus' birth? And how there was Herod, and there was the King Herod to kill all the babies, and none of that. And the Romans were great at their history. They record their history amazingly. No evidence for anything like that. Jesus' miracles. I'm gonna pause. I'm sick and I'm blowing my nose and sneezing and coughing and paused it again. Okay, so no evidence for anything in the Bible, right? No evidence for anything in the Book of Mormon. None. I mean, there's no evidence for anything. And I didn't know that. I actually thought, and most people do. Did you know there's no evidence that there was a Jesus? The only evidence we have is that he's talked about a lot, like in the Bible, and that's it. There's no, and by this guy Josephus, who's one other person, but like there's no. For all we know, Jesus didn't exist, right? And the Bible has some pretty big things that happen, like when he goes back to Jerusalem, and the whole city is waiting for him, and he comes riding in on this donkey, and there's a huge party and parade a week before he's crucified. There's no evidence of that. Romans never documented anything like that, and they documented some weird stuff. Like they document like when this happened or that, just little tiny things, and there's none of it. There's none of it. I mean, no evidence for any of it. Now, is that to say there was never a Jesus? I don't know. Maybe not. There's no evidence for it, though. There definitely wasn't a Moses. I mean, unless there's no... I mean, and when I say, like, there's no evidence, it's not like there's no evidence for anything. We have a lot of evidence for other things that happened around that time, documented by history. We just don't have evidence for anything from the Bible. So anyway, so I learned about that, and I'm like, oh, brother, no evidence for... Jeez. And then I start, looking into, like, the logic behind a lot of Christianity's beliefs and like the atonement and God's teachings and just all the inconsistencies, and not just biblical inconsistencies where it says like 2 here and 3 there, not just that kind of stuff, but just the whole concept of Jesus and saving us and all of that. It just none of it makes any sense. But because I was raised with it, I never looked at it. I never analyzed it critically from an outside perspective. I always just accepted it, right? Anything I didn't understand was God's plan, and I was going to understand it. Which is just not how the case. It's not how that should be. You should analyze everything. You should be able to take something empirically, look at it, and then analyze the evidence that's presented to you. Or, if you don't have it, analyze the people who are presenting the evidence. For example, scientists, right? Like Richard Dawkins, who's one of the best microbiologists ever, if not the best, right? Someone like him I would trust more, I guess you could say. You should still analyze. You should still look at it, right? But when Richard Dawkins said something about microbiology, you kind of have to look at that and go, okay. Or Neil deGrasse Tyson says something about astronomy, and you're like, yeah, that guy's probably right. Like, you don't want to argue with that. But when you get like a Christian pastor who says something about microbiology, you have to look at that and go, yeah, but you don't have a degree from Cambridge, right? I mean, you didn't go to school for 10 years. You didn't write 5 books about this. You're just kind of saying it off the top of your head. Probably want to go with a microbiologist, and then you look at the evidence. So make sure it makes sense. That's the whole idea, right? That's the whole idea behind like something like atheism. Is look at it for yourself and analyze it for yourself, and don't just question it. Don't just blind logic follow it. So anyway, so after about 6 months, I kind of come to this conclusion, and I've been coming to this conclusion, right? But I kind of decide, okay, I don't think this church is true. I don't think there is a God. I don't think any of this is right. I think I've been living almost a lie, basically a lie my whole life. And this happened maybe January to June or July. But I didn't say anything right at first. I was like, oh man, like, I don't know what to do. This is pretty tricky. And then I watched this talk that Richard Dawkins gave on TED TV, where he talks about being a militant atheist and not just living in the closet, because there are people who do that, who live in the closet. They're like atheists, but they don't ever say anything. They get married, they go to church for 20 years with their wife, and the whole time they don't believe any of it. And I did not want that. I wanted to be me. I wanted to not live a lie. So, and then I found this perfect opportunity where I started a new job and I was going to a new school at the same time. And I said, I'm not going to be a Mormon. I'm not going to live this lie. So I only did about a month, right? Where I wasn't sure. Where I like said I was Mormon, but I wasn't, or whatever. And after about a month, I was like, nah, this is not going to work. So the day before school started, so school starts on a Monday, right? I was going to go to the University of Utah. I decided, this is it. I'm done. I'm not doing this. So I go and I tell my mom. I go to my mom's house. My parents are divorced. So I go to my mom's house. And I tell her, hey, you need to know that I don't believe in God. I don't believe this is true. I'm not going to church anymore. And I'm taking my name out of the church records. And I'm an atheist. And that's it. That's me. And that was really tough. She started to cry. And, and how I failed as a mother and all this stuff. And, is it my fault? Is it because we got divorced? Or is it this or that? And, no. I said, no, it's none of that. And then I told my girlfriend that night, who had been dating for about 2 years. She took it pretty hard. We didn't talk for like a day or two, and then she asked me if I would be willing to fake it, to pretend to be Mormon, so that we could get married inside the Mormon temple, and her parents would still be okay with it. And I told her, no, I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to do that. That's just not who I am. And we haven't really talked since then. She just couldn't deal with it. Okay, and before that, I had prepared myself like the whole week before that. I had prepared for like the worst. I had prepared for like I was like ready mentally. I was like kind of ready, or like bracing myself to have my mother disown me, to have my girlfriend dump me, to have my family abandon me. I was kind of like, okay, like I understood. I guess you could say I understood the consequence. I understood, okay, I'm going to be doing this, and this is what could happen, and am I ready for it? And in some ways it turned out better. My mom still loves me. We still talk all the time. In some ways it was exactly what I thought. My girlfriend and I broke up. Haven't seen her. Haven't talked to her since then. I posted it on Facebook. And then when I got my name removed from the records, I took a picture of that because it was an experience for me. Because my whole life I'd been living that. Now some people say that it's dumb, that I should have kept it private, that I shouldn't have posted that on Facebook. That was a really big deal to me. Like it was. You know how like girls will post pictures of like their bellies, or like of a ultrasound when they get pregnant, just to share, because it's like a whole life changing experience. When they get married, or like something like that, right? Or they get their mission calls in the Mormon church. That's how I felt. I felt like someone like that. Whereas like a whole life changing experience, I wanted people to know. Wasn't gonna live a lie. I don't want to mislead people ever. I don't want them to think I'm one thing and I'm not. I don't want that. So I posted on Facebook, put that picture on Facebook. I haven't talked to about half my family, my extended family, since then. They won't talk to me. I got a couple of really, really, really horrific messages. Some from my family and others from friends. saying that I don't have morals anymore, and they can't believe that I would do such a horrific thing, and how could I embarrass my family like this? Don't ever contact me again. I mean, I got some really terrible things. That sucked. That sucked. It really shows you. It really shows you like who really cares about you for you, and who is just doing it for the social norm, right? Now, luckily enough, I started working at the Apple Store at that time, and the Apple Store is a very liberal place. And what happened is I came out right like that Friday, that Saturday, and that Sunday. That didn't work for a couple of days because school has just started. But when I went into work on Wednesday, and when I posted on Facebook, I got this huge comment thread from people, just mean nasty things, and some people really supportive. I went into work on Wednesday, and everyone there was just so welcoming. I hope you guys are watching this. I hope some of you who worked there when I went through this are watching this. I hope you made it this far, because thank you. You made this whole thing possible. Almost. I mean, it was the first couple of days were just really tough. Part of me wanted to go back to how it was before, not because I believed it, but because I just didn't want my life to. I didn't want all the garbage that was going on. I just let's just go back. I'll just tell them I was going through a weird phase. I just don't want all this, you know? But going to work and having everybody like, dude, I saw your Facebook post. That's so awesome. And yeah, hey, so that means you could drink alcohol? Let's go get drunk on Friday. And like, just everyone was welcoming. I had maybe one or two people there who kind of got a little weird around me. Out of 150 people, 200 people that worked there. Everyone was just welcoming. Everyone was so nice. That helped me pull through it. That was what kind of said, okay, I made the right choice. Like, and I'm moving on. Yeah, it was just, man, thank you. I hope you watch this. Thank you so much. So after being an atheist, now, okay, I want to clarify a little bit what people think this means, because atheism to some people means I know that there's not a God, right? And that's not what atheism means. Atheism, and even atheism and agnosticism are a little bit different, right? There's like Gnostic, atheist. Okay, so like, there's this good grade. People think you're either atheist or agnostic, or you're Gnostic, right? Which means either you believe in God, which is Gnostic, or you don't care, which is agnostic, or you say there's not a God and you're atheist. But that's not actually how that works, right? In reality, there's 4 quadrants, right? There's 2 for theist and 2 for atheist, right? There's Gnostic theist, which means I believe in God. Not only do I think there's a God, I believe in that God, and like I have a good idea of what that God is. At least to me, I do. You know, like, people say they don't understand God, but okay, but like you're Catholic and you believe in God. Like that kind of a thing, right? You're a Gnostic theist. Or you're an agnostic theist, which means I don't really know if there's a God, but probably there is one. That's what agnostic theist is. Then there's agnostic atheist, which is I don't really believe in God. I don't think there's a God, but probably there's not one. So you're an agnostic atheist. And then there's Gnostic atheist, which is I don't think there's a God, and I'm pretty dang sure there's not one. And if there is one, there's no evidence for it. It wouldn't make any sense, like, at all. And that's, like, the strongest form of atheism. So that's really how that breaks down, and that's how that really works. So when someone says they're an atheist, probably what they mean is they're a Gnostic atheist, right? And then people say, prove it. A lot of Christians will say, prove there's no God. But the onus of proof doesn't lie with an atheist or a Gnostic atheist. I'm just going to say atheist, right? With a Gnostic atheist. The onus of proof the burden of proof lies with them. Because I don't have to, as an atheist, or as a human being, right? I don't have to prove that there's no unicorns. I don't have to prove there's no leprechauns. I don't have to prove there's no Loch Ness Monster, right? I don't have to prove that something doesn't exist. I don't have to prove that. But the people who do think that there is that thing, they are the ones who have to prove it. Because they're the ones that are making the claim. Otherwise, I could just walk up to the bank. Imagine this. I walk up to the bank, and they say, you have $200. And I say, I have $10,000. Right? Prove that I don't. And they say, well, it's not in the records. I don't believe it. Prove I don't have $10,000. I don't believe what your little system says. I have $10,000. And I don't have to prove it. You have to prove that I don't. In some weird way, right? That's kind of a weird example, but that's the idea, right? And that's not how that works. I don't have to prove that there is no Santa Claus or there is no Easter Bunny. None of that burden of proof lies on me. It lies on the person who believes that it exists. And it's the exact same with God. It is the exact same. If you believe in God, and you're trying to convince me that there's a God, and even into yourself, if you think there's a God, the burden of proof lies with you. You should try and prove that to yourself. or to other people in some way. And you can't. There is no proof. There is no proof. And that's the biggest thing. People ask me all the time, did I leave the church because I'm mad at the church? No. Did I leave the church because I'm offended by somebody? That happens a lot in a lot of churches, in a lot of organizations, where one person will say something that offends somebody else, and that second person is gone, and they never come back. That's not why I left. I didn't leave because of biblical inconsistencies. I didn't leave because of the church's stance on evolution. That's not why I left. That triggered the discovery. That triggered the thought process of, what else is going on here? But the reason I left the church, the reason I abandoned Christianity, is because there is no proof that God exists. And because of that, there's no reason for me to believe in God. Now, some people will say, why don't you just believe in God? Why don't you just do it? Because if you're right, then you lose nothing by believing in God, because when you die, there's nothing. And if you're wrong, right, and there is a God, if you lived like there was one, if you actually lived all the things, you go to heaven, right? So it's either heaven or there's nothing at all. But at least you won't go to hell, right? That's what people say. But that doesn't work, because there's so many different religions, right? Then I would have to randomly just pick one and say, oh, well, I sure hope it's the Lutheran Church, because that's the one I'm gonna choose to follow. Right? Or, oh, man, I hope it's not those Buddhists, or I hope it's not the Muslims, because I'm not following that religion. Right? I mean, it's called Pascal's wager. It's a thing, right? People think they come up with these clever arguments. It's a thing. It's called Pascal's wager. Right? Where you say, well, why don't you just live as if there is one, just in case? But you would have to do that for every single religion. Right? What about Judaism? What about Islam? Right? There's so many religions. You can't just, cross my fingers, I'll pick this one. It doesn't make any sense. I could say the same thing to you. If you say, why don't you just follow Christianity? I can say, why don't you just follow Islam? Just in case, right? Which doesn't make sense, obviously. Okay, so, life as an atheist. So about 2 or 3 months after I declared my atheism, or whatever, I came out as an atheist, whatever you want to say, I met a waitress and took her out on a date. And at that time, this has been 2 or 3 months, right? I wasn't quite sure. I didn't hide it, right? I definitely didn't hide it from people, but I also didn't quite proclaim it either. I wasn't sure how I wanted to do that at that time. It was about a year ago now, so a little less than a year ago. So this girl was a Mormon, and it always comes up that I speak Spanish, right? Like on dates when I first meet people. In the first couple times that I've met somebody, either I'll have to speak it somewhere, or it'll just come out. I speak Spanish, right? And they ask, well, how do you learn Spanish? And I say, well, I served a mission. And they go, oh, okay. And then I go, yep. And I used to do that. I used to go, and then I would just leave it at that. And I kind of let them think that I was still Mormon. I didn't want to scare them away, right? But with this girl, I did that. And after about 3 dates, I decided it was actually getting pretty serious pretty quick. It was one of those, I drop her off after the date, and I immediately wanted to see her again. And she felt the same as me. I drop her off, and by the time I got home, I got a text saying, can't wait to see you tomorrow. It was pretty sweet. It was awesome. She's really pretty. She's really cool. So anyway, after the 3rd date, I'm like, I got to tell her that I'm actually not Mormon anymore. So I kind of came out to her. I texted her and told her. I tried to call her, take her out to lunch, but she's busy. I'm like, before we go out again, I need to tell you this, right? So I ended up texting it to her. Maybe the wrong way. I don't know. And so after work, I texted to her, and she said, hey, come pick me up after work. Let's talk. So after work, I picked her up. We drove around Salt Lake 4 or 5 times and just talked for an hour. And it was really bizarre. It came out that she was really appalled that I was an atheist. She felt that I didn't have morals anymore, which is dumb. Which is so dumb. Where do you get your morals from? The Bible, right? I mean, come on. The Bible. It's so stupid. You kill people for everything in the Bible. Anyway, so she felt I didn't have morals. And she wanted like a husband in the future, or like a spouse, or like a boyfriend. She wanted that person, a significant other, to be stronger in their religion than she was in hers. But she didn't really care what their religion was. So I asked her, this is a true story. Some people don't think this is true. This is 100% true. I asked her, okay, would you prefer that I believe in Thor over not believing in anything, as long as it was a stronger belief than yours? And she said yes. She said, I would prefer that you believe in Thor or Zeus to nothing, because then at least I know you have morals. And I was like, wow, you're insane, right? Like, I don't want to date this kind of person. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll take you back, like, because I don't, and this is dumb. This isn't going anywhere, and I don't want to date someone like that. That's bizarre. And then it's funny because right when we took her home, she turns to me and she's like, Julian, I'm so sorry. I know you really wanted to date me, and I'm sorry that we're not going to be able to date now. And in my head, I was like, I don't want to date you anymore after this conversation. That was a weird conversation. Like, get out of the car. And so, okay, so anyway, I learned a lot from that experience, though, which is I'm not going to mislead people. And I don't. And not like I did before. It wasn't, like I said, it's not like I lied to them. It was only for 2 months. But it wasn't that I lied. It was that I let them think. I just let them continue believing whatever they wanted to believe about me. But now I'm very clear. And I'm an atheist. And that's who I am. Not because I'm mad at the church. Not because I don't like this or that. It's because there's no evidence for God. Don't believe there's a God. And don't see a reason to believe in God. And until there's evidence to the contrary, I will continue to not believe in God. If there's evidence that presents itself, and it has to be some very good evidence. Until that happens, I'm not gonna believe in God. And I can tell you, my life is much better because of it for a lot of reasons. One thing that has changed in my life because of this is I'm no longer afraid of situations, of tough situations. I am kinda like, I still don't like telling my parents I messed up with something like, Mom, I need $40, I spent all my money, or something, you know what I mean? Something kind of like that. Like, I don't want to, okay, a good example is I got fired from my job, and I didn't tell them for like 2 or 3 weeks. I was really embarrassed. So, hard situations like that, yeah. But if it's like I don't know, like a situation where I have to confront something or somebody, or I have to stand up for something, or like stick to my guns on something, I am like way better at it now than I was before because of this transition for me, because of this. No, I'm atheist and I'm sticking to this, and I don't. And we can debate, but like, you better provide some evidence. You better not just try and make me feel bad, because my feelings are not or should not constitute what I believe in that way. It should be evidence, right? I'm much better at that, and I find myself open to everything now. I analyze everything instead of having these predetermined notions about it. I've tried alcohol. I don't really care for it. I like the girly drinks. I like margaritas, and I like daiquiris. I don't like beer, whatever. I don't really like coffee, probably because I didn't grow up drinking it, but I drink coffee. Just like, I won't smoke, but that's for different reasons. That's not because of a church thing. I just know that's really addictive and really bad for you, so I just not gonna smoke. No, thank you. But like, okay, I think a good example, and this is maybe talking me up a little bit, like, oh, I'm so awesome. I started a job a couple months ago, or like 2-3 months ago, yeah, where we work with someone who's transgender, and I didn't care at all. I cared in a good way. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's really cool they did that. Like, that's really strong of them. Because, like, okay, like, take this whole thing I've talked about. Take this whole hour, or however long this is, of me talking about this transition to atheism, right? But that is like this. That is like nothing compared to somebody who's transgender. That is like, because they are changing. Me, I changed my religious beliefs, right? They're changing everything about themselves. Well, and I mean, oh man, I got a lot of respect for that. That's an incredible thing that person did. He's amazing. I mean, man. And I think that if I had met that person 3 years ago, I probably would have kind of avoided them, felt uncomfortable around them, and not talked to them. Because I thought they were going to hell or something. I don't even know. But now, no, wait, not at all. I don't care. I think they're awesome. And I have no problem talking to them about it and just think it's the coolest thing. It doesn't bug me in any way. Not at all. Not at all does it bother me. Gay people, not at all. Like if I had someone invite me to smoke marijuana, I decided against it, but I thought about it. It wasn't that like, oh, well, my church says no, so I say no, right? It was, marijuana, okay, I'm looking for jobs right now, probably gonna get drug tested, don't know if I want that, I don't know if I want the marijuana effects, I don't think I'll do that, but thank you, right? And I know I came to the same conclusion of no, but it just felt so cool to me to be able to analyze and think and go, do I want to do this? Pros and cons, kind of, instead of just saying, God says no, so I say no. That's just a dumb way to do it. My life is so much better. In some ways, it's really tough. Like I said, a lot of people abandoned me. A lot of people, I don't know about abandoned is the right word, because I didn't need them. They weren't holding me up. A lot of people walked away from me, though. A lot of people turned their backs. A lot of people said mean things, and you just gotta move on. You just gotta move past it. So people freak out. Girls, I had a girl ask me to take her home in the middle of a date because I told her at dinner, and I didn't tell her this whole crazy story like I'm telling you guys, But she asked if I go to church, and I said no. I'm actually atheist. I don't believe in God at all. And she was like, "Well, probably just take me home then, because I'm not interested in pursuing a relationship with an atheist." Okay, idiot. Like I didn't say idiot, but I wish everyone could go through what I went through. And maybe someone will watch this video, and maybe they'll start to do their own research. One of the biggest things I also want to push is that you should, let's say you're not sure, and you watch my video. I hope my video doesn't like convince you to be atheist. Because you should do it because of what you have understood, and because of the research that you have done. Now, I hope that my video pushes you in that direction. I hope that you start to look at these debates, and hope you start to read the articles, and hope you start to investigate for yourself, and then come to your own decision. And probably it will be the same one that I made. Did you ever notice that? How, like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out there. 95% is a guess of the scientific community atheists. Right? Like a huge amount. And there's a reason for that. The smart people, have you noticed that? Like all the really intelligent people are usually atheists. I'm not talking smart like your dad is really smart. I'm not talking that kind of smart. I'm talking like, wow, these people are like the smartest people that exist right now. Atheists. The countries that are doing really well right now. Look at Europe. This is gonna be a little skewed, and I don't want to be too general because I don't know very well. But if you kind of look at Europe in general and look at like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Denmark, Norway, the very like atheist countries, the ones who aren't very religious at all, and they're so much more progressed than like the Spains and Portugals and Frances that are more religious. Now I'm not to say they're like crazy, right? But like, just the effect that religion has on a country. Anyway, I'm getting into too much of that. And I'll debate that with you guys if you want. I'm interested in talking about that kind of stuff. I'm going to skip it, though. I know I went on this tangent. I'm just going to drop it. But anyway, that's me. That's my trip. That's how I got to where I am today. I hope you watch this whole thing. I really hope you watch this whole thing. And then I hope you understood me better. And I want to talk about it. That's the last thing I'll say. I am open to talking about anything. You can ask me anything. You can ask me temple questions, or you can ask me about the Mormon Church, about my transition. You can ask what life's now, whatever you want. I am open to anything, and I'll talk about it with you guys. And that's the end of it. Thank you for watching. I love you guys a lot, and I'll do another magic video tomorrow. Okay, peace out.